There's a lot of bad ideas in the 70s, apparently. So the Vancouver Special was one of them, it seemed. Like, they're stucco boxes, you know?
Like, I think they were seen as ugly partly because of the way that they were decorated, which tended to be a multicolored glazed brick and a little bit of aluminum trim on them, and the rest of them was stucco. All of this meeting the new bylaw need for fireproofing. And a lot of people would just look at them, and compared with the textures of the old houses, the, you know, articulated facades, the framing around the windows and everything, they looked really cheap, they looked really nasty.
They were reproduced ad nauseum across the city, so, you know, they would get a bit tiresome. I mean, a lot of people maybe think Vancouver Specials are beautiful, but honestly, I don't. I think they fall short in a number of ways, but they almost are. And I feel that they're redeemable aesthetically and kind of functionally.
Nobody wanted to talk about them except as a problem. They're ugly, or they're too big. They're essentially a design problem that maybe architects could fix somehow. But it's clear that there's a lot more to them than that, because just the sheer number of them, they had an impact on so many people's lives.
There's a shared sense of experience that comes from living in a Vancouver Special that's uniquely Vancouver, and that cuts across so many diverse communities and unites us in a way.
A couple of builders in the 1960s get the idea that if they just got rid of the stairs altogether, and instead of going up to the main floor, you went down into the house off that, you could save all that money, you have an internal staircase, and voila, the Vancouver Special is born. And then they look at how can they make it just as inexpensive as possible to build. Well, you do it with an almost flat roof. You get this volume that is as big as possible. And then in the technicalities of the bylaw at that time, that space that you walk down into, that basement space, wasn't counted in the square footage. And so they would blow the house back on the lot and out to the sides as much as they could. And you get these enormous houses that were really good for the extended families of new immigrants coming into Vancouver in the post-war years.
Like in 1910, Vancouver was 90% immigrants from England, Scotland, Ireland, and Wales, but mostly England and Scotland. You can look at the 1911 census. People were either born in Great Britain or their parents were born in Great Britain. So it was a very, very British place. Now that didn't change so much until 1967. Trudeau changed the immigration laws. It used to be basically if you weren't British, they wouldn't let you into the country. Now, when they sort of made the system the same for everybody, you got massive immigration from China and then later on from India.
I always have these great fond memories of the Vancouver Special, in a couple of ways, perhaps. One maybe academic, and one more as a personal one. In sort of an academic way, I mean, you've talked about how these diverse communities of migrants would move into these Vancouver Specials. And it sort of speaks to me at a geographic level in terms of space, and also sacred space in a sense, because you have these diverse group of migrants, Eastern European, South Asian, Asian as well, who all live in a similar house structure, and it really redefines the sense of home. And for migrant communities, defining home, defining a place to be is so important. So in that sense, all these diverse communities go back to their homes, they're all built the same and used in similar ways, and those attachments are built in similar ways. I think that's really important speaking to Vancouver and how Vancouver has viewed Vancouver Specials in the sense that it crosses so many different boundaries and creates that sense of home and identity. But personally for me, I mean, it's tied so much with my childhood. In the area, on the 2 blocks around our house, there are a lot of Vancouver Specials and large trees, great places to walk, great sense of community that was there. I remember there were other Fijian migrants in that area, also some Chinese and Vietnamese migrants as well too. So in that sense, it was a very diverse place, and we always sort of mingled together and had barbecues in the backyard, and we played basketball in the backyard. It was just a great place to be.
If there are things that are worth recognition, in my humble opinion, it would be those that affect it to the extent that it transforms places and it creates identities and it creates different neighborhoods. And you know, something like the Vancouver Special lies perfectly within that realm.
The thing that sort of excites me about renovation in terms of architecture is the idea of taking something that's either not working or almost working, or somehow perfect but not quite, and reworking it or adjusting it so it suits a new generation of users.
We liked Vancouver Specials right from the beginning because we knew that they had lots of square footage. And with our young family, we knew that that's what we needed, lots of room. So Shaun went on a mission to find us a Vancouver Special.
Mm-hmm. And with our company, again, we wanted to do a renovation that could show a situation where we introduce sustainability as well as affordability into a renovation, and then use our family as guinea pigs to test it out afterwards.
The Vancouver Special is one of their biggest attributes, and one of the reasons why I think it's maintained itself so long is that it actually maximizes the square footage. If you were to take a typical one down, chances are you'd actually have to build a smaller footprint house. Real estate values being calculated as they are based on square footage, it's almost a no-brainer to keep them and maintain them and renovate them.
When it comes to what we took out, there was really 2 walls. We moved a couple of door openings. The drywall had to come off in the insulation, and some of the exterior cladding. And there wasn't a lot of typical construction waste that would have occurred from a typical teardown because of the bones that you get from a Vancouver Special.
We wanted to maintain the fact that this has a rentable suite. It's big, it's wonderful. We don't want to transform it into a single family home. We want to actually maintain it as it was because it works so well for that.
We installed double pane fiberglass windows. We installed a high efficiency fireplace in the upstairs. We changed out the furnace and put in HRV, which is a heat recovery ventilator. So we've got fresh air in all the rooms. We got rid of the hot water tank and put in an on-demand hot water tank. So we have the original ceiling, the beautiful wood, but we also have 3 windows that brings in morning sunlight into the space.
When you actually get in your house and you have your family, all that hard work is worth it. And it really gives you a sense of accomplishment. You were economical and sustainable, and you really put your heart and soul into it. And
I think we've created a lovely home that we get to raise two lovely daughters and enjoy what the community offers.
The Vancouver Special is a unique creation of our crazy city. And, as such, and I think the interest that people are beginning to put into them now, 2 generations since they started to come up, indicates that they are beginning to get a little bit of a heritage cred.
But it certainly speaks to a social and cultural time as well as architectural development in the city. So by being such a functional building form in the rectangular shape, it allows for lots of adaptability and reuse, which is another important aspect in terms of achieving sustainability goals in the city.
I actually love what's happening now with the changes that are taking place in sort of deconstructing the former Vancouver Specials and rebuilding them in sort of iconic parts. Whether it's that dark gray exterior with stucco or with wood paneling on the outsides on the fences. I kind of like how it's being reinterpreted for modern day Vancouver. I love that way that Vancouver Special is such a useful tool, that it can be a useful tool, a mythic tool, such a strong symbol that is strong enough to be deconstructed and rebuilt into something else that becomes relevant for another time period. Vancouver Specials, I think, really do reflect the changing stories of the city, and I think there's a great opportunity there for Vancouver Specials to be seen as in dialogue with how the city changes and views itself.